looking at
He's looking for it. He's looking for
looking for things. Yeah.
a filter, isn't he? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, okay, I'm gonna try and concentrate.
I've done no prep for this meeting at all, Heidi. It's been one of those weeks where I like we got through the annual review and then we had a house viewing. We switched, yeah. And then we had a house viewing, and then I just, when you just are like, no, that's it. I'm done.
Raise hand, lower hand.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. Is this your first or your second call? I'm trying to remember.
Second call.
It is your second, but it's a while, isn't it, since we last spoke?
Yeah, you just got back from Vegas, so it was about a
Middle
month
of September.
It?
Yeah.
Right. Jake, I actually need to concentrate a little bit. And you're making me feel a bit sick, to be honest.
Look at that, we switched.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I can't. No, what have you done?
He's like mirroring it, so it's like flicking back and forth. Can you stop now? It's really annoying.
Our brains aren't turned on enough for this morning.
Right. Okay.
Not even the right way round.
So
you need to switch it again.
Hang on. So I've got to update Heidi, because I did actually do things in between our meeting.
Amazing. Well, that's a great start.
Right. Jacob, could you just let me concentrate?
I'll switch it back.
Okay. Thank you. So I did a complaint.
I'm not wearing a top.
No, we'll go and find one.
No, I need to.
Okay.
Are you wearing bottoms though, Jake?
He's got
bottoms on. You can just blur out. You can just blur at the corner out for half the meeting.
Right. So I did a complaint to the local authority, as you requested. I watched your video. That was really helpful, actually, by the way. Great. That was really good. So I did a complaint.
It even came back as first issue thing. They even added an extra, didn't they? Because it came back while you were talking to Claire, didn't it?
I can't remember, Jake, to be honest. My brain is like mush.
Yeah,
so anyway, they were meant to have responded by last Friday. I don't want one of those. By last Friday. And I sent them a message on Wednesday and said, no response, what's going on? And bear in mind that one of them was like lack of communication. That was actually one of the things. So that just cracked me up. And so I've just had an email this morning from somebody more senior saying that they are sorry, it's taken them a bit longer and they'll try and get back to me by the 20th, which is obviously next Friday.
Next week, okay.
So
and remind me what we covered. Say we, you. Remind me what we covered in the complaint.
So it was so they added on like lack of communication, and then it was failure to provide.
What's your hair pink?
Within 15 days. It's nice, isn't it?
I don't really like it.
I'm changing it next week. I think I'm gonna go like grey.
Yeah, that hair's not gonna go away anytime soon. You're gonna need to completely regrow that as well. Okay. Last time Mum had pink hair, she had to wait for months for it to get sorted.
I did, didn't I?
You can even see where it's still blonde and her hair's damaged.
It's not. Right, are you going to be quiet though so I can talk? Because otherwise I can't concentrate because you're like...
And when you say something, I have to respond because I'm ADHD as heck and we won't get anything done.
Heidi's also a PDA.
We're not going to get anything done.
We're all a bit like, it's not a good combo, is it? It was failure to provide anything within 15 days, failure to provide alternative provision, period, because he hasn't really had much. So he's had you had change of scene for like 2 hours a week, but and then that stopped. So he's, and that's been 18 months now. So
this is a soggy moggy. I'm gonna go get him.
Hang on, there was another one.
And you're gonna go.
What was the fourth one? Do I need to go upstairs and hide Jacob in the room? Because I came down here because it was really quiet. No one was down here. What was the fourth? Oh, failure to do the annual review within a year's date. So that should have happened last June. They did it on Tuesday, only because I told the school that it needed to happen. So that happened on Tuesday this week. And you recommended Amber Lane to come and help me. So we had a meeting on Saturday, and then you see why I got no rest this week. And then she came to the meeting on Tuesday. She was fantastic.
She's
Heidi.
amazing, isn't she?
She was great. Like
absolutely love her.
when the caseworker was saying in the meeting, well, it's not our responsibility to provide alternative provision, that's the school. And Amber was like, excuse me, one moment. She was like, actually, what you'll find is in this document here, that's a legal document, it is your responsibility. So actually that was fantastic. But the caseworker came completely unprepared. There was no paperwork. They didn't have any updates about what special schools had been asked or anything. And he was like, well, I've only just taken it on. It's not really my, and I'm like, but you're still coming to a meeting. You still have to be prepared. You still have to know the answers to all the questions.
And you're at an annual review, which is a very clear, process-driven meeting.
Yeah, and as Amber said, he should have already provided that information 2 weeks before the meeting, because that's the job as the caseworker. Even if you weren't on it, that's your responsibility. So so at that meeting, Amber was really good, because she was like, Hannah doesn't want IOTAs, but she was like, there is no other option now. No special schools have said they can meet need. These were the list of ones that were asked. Obviously some of them just didn't bother to reply, so I don't know where you stand on that, but they have a process. What I realise is that Jacob's EHCP, when they opened it in October 22 to say yes, he could have a special place, they never finalised the EHCP at that stage.
Right.
So it's just been sat open for all this time.
Draft. Okay.
In a draft. And I only realised when I sent it to Amber, and I was like, hang on a minute, like this says draft all over it. Like I obviously dropped the ball at that point and didn't realise. So that was the other thing is, and so my big thing that came at the meeting is I asked for a reassessment, but I've got to still make a decision on that, because the cat, yes, sure.
You sit down in the chair.
Oh, he's sitting in the chair. Hang on, sorry, how are you going to go for it?
Yeah, cat.
Show me. What's the cat called?
Lynx. It's currently the socket of the muggies. Yeah, keep on.
I can only see the chair, Jake. I can't see the cat. Oh, look. Oh.
Right.
Suggies of the muggies.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be harassed any further.
You are the
Right.
suggiest of the muggies.
Peter, you need to come off that device, please. Sorry, Heidi, this is just...
Honestly, it's fine.
Well, and to be honest, he likes you, so that's a great start, because that is not our response we get to a lot of people. So, I
have this effect on PDAs. I don't know what it might be.
Yeah, I think it's, you have to stick together, don't you? So I think that's fine. I cannot remember what I was saying. What was I saying?
You were saying that it was still in draft.
Oh,
you'd asked for a reassessment of need, but you're not sure.
Yes, so I asked for a reassessment of need, and everyone agreed at the meeting that that's what needs to happen, because Jacob hasn't seen an EP since primary setting, and obviously he's now in year 9
primary school.
And
which one? Alison Bolters or
Bushy. I just called it primaries in like that setting. Obviously it was a junior school. And
he hasn't seen an EP since primary.
He hasn't seen the EP since primary. But what's happening at the moment is that in Surrey, yes, take the sausages and eat them, go away.
All of them?
Yes, if you're not going to go away?
No.
Okay. In Surrey at the moment, there's a shortage of educational psychologists. So Amber's big concern was that they would agree yes to a reassessment and then deliberately stall Jacob's case so that it would just sit open forever and never get shut. And they'd say, well, it's not our responsibility. So that was her big concern with that it would be a deliberate play to do that, which is a big consideration to take when we really need to set up something for him like now. So the option 2 was that the school and I sit and look at those kind of provisions and things and how that might also relate into alternative provision and kind of fudge something through in the meantime.
Hey, at least they weren't stupid enough to just put in very obvious traceable bribes.
And then look, because obviously when we move, not that we've got a
And
date for that
blackmail.
or that we've sold or anything, but when we move, obviously I could push some of those other things through then at that point,
Because you're
potentially.
moving counties, so you'll have a.
You're moving-
I'm sure
yeah.
council has
Yeah.
something more like that. Is
Jacob,
blackmail.
I can't concentrate, mate. Can you just be a bit,
No.
bit quantum? Do I need to move
No, no.
upstairs? Yeah, so that's
Anyway.
and I don't need option. Do you know what I mean? Both have got their pluses, and the school and I were like, well, it's neither of us are really qualified to do that. However, they probably have the best chance with me at sitting down and sorting it, with the knowledge that for IOTAs, all the
Anyway, counties are completely different.
all the provision has to be tied to what's in section F. So we'd have to look at that and work it out. Because obviously at the moment, Jacob's EHCP says things like, by the end of Key Stage 3, Jacob will sit in a classroom with loads of other children and be able to complete a class. And so I'm just like, it's totally irrelevant.
So did you look at the outcomes in the annual review? Did you have a chance to, did you get to that?
We didn't do any outcomes because
Key Stage 3.
that's the one you're in, year 7 to year 9. So we didn't, because actually he hasn't had any provision, and the only things he's done is, Jake, I literally am going to have to go and hide somewhere in a minute. This change of scene, and so obviously ferret toenail clipping wasn't part of his outcomes, so they just looked at them and said he's failed on all of them. Basically, we haven't provided anything that meets any of it, and so they just put no in all the boxes. So the big discussion, there was a big discussion about funding, and
Annoying mama.
obviously we've got A to E.
I'm annoying mama now.
Jake, I actually would really like it if you because I only have an hour with Heidi, and I've got some stuff I've got to do on it to push stuff forward.
Just saying with you though.
Okay. So Peter can go back on the PS4. Okay. You're really affecting my brain today, Jake, and it's already tired.
How many calls do you do a day?
It depends. I've got 3 today.
Okay, so that's 3 hours worth of time wasted.
You could put
Okay, I'll pour way too much coffee.
Don't pour too much. Just do a little bit. That's enough. That's enough.
No. Said way too much, now I'm gonna fill it.
He's gonna fill it right to the brim. Of course he is. Is Theo a PDA as well?
Yeah.
And right now I've spilled it as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I literally have filled it like right to the brim. Could have gone more.
Like dripping on my leg.
Nice.
I could have gone more. You're
Right.
lucky.
So.
I could have gone like any slight.
So yeah, the discussion. So because we also have A to E, and they sent Amy, not Maria. I don't think they. Because I snuck Amber in late onto all the stuff. I don't think they read the stuff that she was going to be there. So I could see Amy floundering on the screen below.
I bet she was like, "Oh my god, Amberlane's here."
So basically, I've said no, and I did lose my shit a little bit in the meeting, because they just kept saying, about this provision that they've offered, 5 days a week in Godalming, which he can't access. And I was just like, can we just stop talking about this like he's actually going to be able to get here, because he's not. I've said no for a reason. It wasn't because
it's made out of the same material as
yes, but Amber saved the day on that because she kind of came in,
and then it's literally just the tiniest.
And there's this big discussion about who's going to fund it, and again Amber came in on that and was just like, that's, yes, you need to decide who's funding it and where it's coming from, but you
problem.
That's not a me problem. Yeah, that's a you problem. And A to E were like, oh well, we thought the school were going to sort it out through their budget, and And the school were like, are you kidding me? I would have already done this. So they haven't done the referrals. A to E haven't done the referrals to
go get my drinks in my iPad.
Mind Jam and Sporting Chance that they said they would do 3 weeks ago at the TAF. That was Maria. Now we've got Amy. And so they just bumbled their way through. So Amber's also made some additional suggestions for things that I think would work for Jake, for things that she's got in place for Noah, like Raw Outdoor. So we've started with the referral process for that. A2E did send out a tutor, well, like a teacher to the house here, Erin. She came for an hour. But I wasn't in to get Jacob up because I was at the annual review. So when she arrived, he was still asleep. So that obviously was slightly problematic, but she does seem nice and she is quite PDA friendly. And there's no way she's going to push A2E's agenda. She very much is child led. You know, she was like, I bought my board games. I'm here to just get to know Jacob. That's my goal. Do you know what I mean? She didn't have any of their agenda behind her. So
you can spend like 20 minutes screaming its head off about a timer that I forgot about.
Yeah, I was just telling Heidi that the lady Erin came, didn't she, on Tuesday to meet you, and she bought a box of board games, but you didn't get that far to meet her. You just waved at her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you turn your sound off, please?
I can barely hear it.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then in terms of Peter, things have gone a bit awry there. So he obviously has been struggling to access the same school. His EHCP hadn't been finalised yet. So nearly 2 weeks ago now, I messaged the caseworker, called the LSPAR number, CC'd in the world with his wife and said, you know, actually, we're really struggling. I withdraw my consent for that school to be named on the HCP. I'd like my parental request to change. Please, can someone come back to me about it urgently? And then on the Wednesday, it went to panel without that information. The caseworker was off and they finalised it. So on the Thursday, I called the case manager and said, what's happening with this? You know, you were CC'd in on the emails, you know, the case manager's off. The case manager had promised to come back to me with the changes that had been made, which hadn't happened. So I'd not seen it since its original version. So there were some things that needed to go in there that were missing. So I haven't seen whether they've been added in. And obviously I asked for a change of parental preference. And so I'm still waiting. She agreed she would call me on Thursday last week at 4 o'clock. And I'm still waiting. I've heard now. Bear in mind that my issue for Jacob is communication. It's the same team, same people. And I'm just like, so because I basically said, look, before you finalise it and send it out, can we at least have a conversation? Because you shouldn't have finalised it. I asked for a change of placement. And she's like, well, I don't know whether I can change the panel decision. So the school and I have already said, worst case scenario, if it gets finalised, we'll put in alternative provision for Peter in the short term. We'll ask them to call an early review immediately, and we'll do an appeal. But however, it's really frustrating because I'm like, and the school were like, well, you know, they're just very busy. They probably just missed the email. And it's like,
we're all busy, mate. We're all busy.
We're all busy. And I'm like, it said urgent on it, and it went into the case manager's inbox, so she would have taken it. She knew that the caseworker was on holiday, so somebody would have been picking up those emails. So I'm like, there's no way it got missed. And beside the fact, I called the LSPAR number, it all got recorded. I called several times and was like, urgent SOS. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know what else I could have done.
It doesn't sound to me like there's anything else you can do. This is the frustration.
Yeah.
And I know it's a big frustration in Surrey, is that you're doing everything right. You're doing everything by the book. You're covering your back. You're making sure you've got everything in writing. You're following procedure. You're not, you're not being an asshole. You're doing everything you can to keep this moving. And then they're just
going round.
Yeah. And I feel sorry for the school because now this is going to be their second one. It blocks a place for a child that actually does need the place. They're managing an alternative provision budget that they don't know anything about, that they don't know how to do. They're not geared up to that. All of the work's just being left onto this. Even A2E are like, oh, well, you're the Senko, you can do the work. And I'm like, but that's why you've come on board as A2E.
That's your job. That's literally your role. Yeah.
So she just sat in the meeting just like, really? Like, you're just all putting it on me. So I feel really bad for her. And I think she was a bit concerned about Amber coming to the meeting, I think. And I was just, after the meeting, I said to her, because we physically went, Amber A2E and the case manager, the caseworker even, were all on camera. Everybody else was in person. I said to her, I didn't bring Amber to go against you, but obviously the local authority are being unlawful and we need provision in place. And I've kind of just got a bit fed up of it.
Sounds like your relationship with her is okay though, right?
It is okay. But I do feel bad because I'm like, Pete, we shouldn't have even got to the point where Peter was like, there are things, actually the school didn't handle either Jacob or Peter particularly well. There are things that if they'd listened to me and put stuff in place right away, we wouldn't be in this position. They did slightly better with Peter, but he also, the previous, the junior school, because it was a transition, we've had 6 months of him not doing much. So he was never going to just rock up to year 7 and manage full time and cope in classrooms.
No.
So it, and that's, and so it's happened twice now, same junior to where they've not quite done it in time and then they've been left with it sitting on their lap. And I, as a parent, don't have any other choice, like they hadn't finalised the HCP when he started. So I didn't have any other choice but to send him to where he's been named, with his normal school place.
Yeah.
Because you're so kind of bound. So I do have a good relationship with the school. But equally, and I'm like, they already know that there isn't money there isn't the money allocated. However, what she did say is, they've got money for Jacob, so there's no reason why they can't use that to start with while they figure everything else out. Actually he's got money for the whole year that they've been allocated, so it might run out really quickly, but while they're sorting out everything else, we could be putting provision in place. But again, she's managing something that isn't her skill base and she doesn't have the time.
No. And I guess it's knowing that, Hannah, is that even though it shouldn't be this way, it's going to come down to you doing a lot of pushing and all the extra admin and the faffing and the and making sure you've got the support and the scaffolding that you need so that you don't go under during the process as well is really important.
Yeah.
So you've done loads, like you're like, I haven't prepped. You didn't need to, you've done tons, you've been really busy. What can I help you with
for 2 extra
now? Like, what can we go that you've got like hanging over your, I mean, I'm happy to just tell you that you're doing an amazing job for half an hour. That's totally fine, I can do that. But I'm just wondering how can I help you in the next half an hour that we've got together? Is there anything you want to run past me, ask me?
So I guess my big thing is I have to make a decision about whether I ask for a reassessment or not.
Okay.
And that was your suggestion, and it was a really good suggestion, and it should be the right option. But Amber obviously pointed out that they are deliberately, there is a massive shortage here. We've got friends whose kids have been waiting, a year for an assessment, and Jacob isn't at a key point, so he won't, Peter, they pushed through really quickly because he was at that transition level, but Jacob is not. So
what year is Jacob in?
He's in year 9.
I don't really care because most of the time I just
so he doesn't have any
going into year 10, which is a phase transition. Yes.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah.
But I don't think when you look at their stuff, they don't count that. They they talk about years 6 to 7, and they talk about like 11 to 12, but they don't really talk about into year 10 like that.
They don't talk about
Right, year 10 is the first, remind me, year 10 is key stage
They don't
Four.
talk about
4, beginning of GCSEs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a phased
I-
transition.
Yeah,
So-
and I yeah, my big concern is that, as Amber said, that they'll just open it up. There's no EPs, they'll stall it, and then they'll also stall all the provision as well going in.
Yeah.
And
But school have got funding for AP in the meantime.
well, they've got whatever's in their normal budget, but that doesn't really cover anything because that goes straight into the school
Windy
pot, I
rain.
believe, and then they have to ask for anything over and above. So, and there's now quite a few things that are going to need to come out because apparently there's funding all A to E stuff, which they don't have it's a massive mess, Heidi, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Nobody, and you know, the caseworker literally just came and was like, well, I've only just picked up this case. I don't really know it's not my responsibility. That's not my understanding. That's, you know, and I just was like, what a wet sheep.
3 shots, 3 bounce,
So I need to make a decision
3,
on that and quite
or
quickly,
2 bounce.
so that the annual review paperwork can go in and we can move forward.
Mama.
But obviously
3 bounces of 3 in quick succession, or 2 bounces of 3, and then
Jake,
so
yeah, can I carry on
2
talking?
2 bounces of 3 and then bouncing.
You know, when you've got this, it's really difficult because everything inside me says just take the computer and run away. But then I'm also like, he's actually sitting here engaging with somebody for the first time this whole week. So I'm like, this is, yeah.
I can handle it if you can. I guess there's more distraction at your end.
Yeah, and also the 2 aren't fighting, so that's also because that does
Yeah,
now
stay where you are. Don't move.
that comes with its own issues as well.
So if we
Because the other thing I asked for on the annual review is that Amber told me to do as well, is that, you know, she was like, actually, at the moment, you're expected to be in 2 places at once with 2 kids who both aren't accessing school, which you can't do. So she was like, you need to ask for a learning support person that comes and takes Jacob to the provision, which is like another budget thing. I could see the school going, oh no, not more budget stuff for me. But I'm like, actually, that I can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I can't be in 2 places at once.
No, absolutely not. I'm guessing that Jacob can't travel independently, so he couldn't go in a taxi or anything like that.
No, he wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
He would go with somebody else if it was the right person.
Yes.
So, you know, he doesn't travel particularly well. Well, we're working on that, aren't we, Jake? But I think with the right person,
Yeah.
It's words that fit into my mouth.
yeah.
Do you have social care?
We don't. So that's on my job list to do. I've pulled up the letter that I need to send in to ask for the Section 17 assessment for both boys and a carer's one I need to do. But I've got the letter up on the computer, but that's as far as I got. Okay. But there's so much going on, and I feel like every time I knock something massive off my list, another 5 items come on. You know, like the stuff with Peter, I was like, really, like, you've messed this up again, and I'm like, and I'm already struggling with everything else. So I was like, and it's the same team.
My mouth has 6.99 million DPS.
Yeah,
it doesn't damage anything.
As much as anything, my big frustration with that was just,
you know,
they arranged a call and then there's been radio silence since then. They didn't call in. She hasn't responded to emails. That's my big frustration, because it doesn't take anybody any time to reply and say, sorry, emergency happened, I will come back to you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's on my list. It doesn't take anybody any time to do that, but instead just nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of thinking I can totally see where Amber is with the delays and that, yeah, because that's what I mean. Surrey are experts at kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even kick the can, they just leave the can and hope that no one notices that there is
Like it's either way is pretty shitty.
Yeah, it is. And I'm
And
just trying to think about what your options are. So basically, if they finalize the plan, you've got a route for appeal. If they
Never mind, I'll probably get
go for a
my
reassessment of
yes,
need,
fine.
you have a route for
It's
complaint and
notice that
potentially
the
judicial
electric
review.
review, I have
Yeah.
one bounce
Um,
between enemies. So
But
I
then,
end up
given that if you didn't
using
have the move
them.
coming, I would be like, do you know what? I think you need to go for a reassessment. But I think with the move, that gives you another window, doesn't it?
yeah, it does yeah.
And it could be another, I mean, I don't want to, piss on your chips, but it could be another 12 months before that happens, couldn't it?
It could be. We haven't sold.
Mm.
But equally, we really do need to. So, but the market is really weird at the moment.
Yeah,
So
it's really strange.
and
We're looking to buy at the moment, and stuff there was a bit of a flurry over the summer when a few things sold, and now it's really slowed down again, I've noticed.
yeah. Like what I could really do with us is us selling here and then the market tanking a little bit more in Cambridgeshire so that I can buy something a little bit better, because I really am. That's another thing that I'm like scraping the can with and just trying to make sure I've got the right stuff in place, and it is going to be tight, whatever.
I've noticed that in the achievement section for the Roblox game I play, it says equip 3 pets. The max amount of pets that you can equip without paying Robux is 2.
This kid cracks me up.
Tricky. They're trying to get you to spend money. Tricky.
Yeah.
No, I just noticed that. I don't
Always.
care. Why do the weapons look so thick?
I don't know.
Chunky.
No idea. Yeah.
So if
And you're right, it could be, we could still be here in a year's
Devil
time. And there's pros and cons of both, really.
what do you feel would
Wait,
be,
is that the legendary?
given that we know that it's
legendary.
Surrey, and whichever route you go down, you're going to have a battle on your hands.
Yeah, because my concern is that if they do say IOTAs, which I doubt they will after the annual review. They don't normally, do they? Normally you have to fight for it. So my feeling is that, but if they did, then actually the EHCP provisions isn't quite where it needs to be for IOTAs. So that's also my concern. And then I could end up with not having the right things. But Jane and I, the Senko, we could sit down and try and with that in mind, but obviously that's not her skill base at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just taking a step back, what would work for you as a family and for Jacob, and what, like, magic one time, if you have what you needed and wanted and felt that Jacob could access, what would that look like?
Well, so I think at the moment, because we're going from like a nothing start, I think he probably needs a little bit of animal therapy. I think if we can find the right provision for that, I think that's, he was doing change of scene, and the reason the placement failed was because it was up this like bumpy dirt track in the middle of nowhere, and Jacob just got to the point where he couldn't handle that bit, so he went to avoidance. But actually, when we were there, he did really well. So I think animal therapy. I think something like Raw Outdoor that's personalised to his EHCP, where he can do like carving or some kind of outdoorsy, even some of the life skills and the something like that. I think we need to think about that. Obviously, we're not really thinking at all about the education stuff. I think we need somebody to be thinking about, Jacob's really into like gaming and game design and
games,
and somebody to be focusing along that route. So initially we've talked about Mind Jam, but expanding that out. And I think he needs somebody that's going to help refocus that into like a tangible plan for like how he gets there. So like if that's what he wants to do for a job, how we get there. and what we need to do that, or if it's something animal based, what we need to do and how we get there. So I think that, and then
oh, my DPS went up to 7.72 million.
And then in terms of, you know, actually I care more about the practical life skills, although when I was looking at the 14 plus stuff that's going to need to go in his EHCP, which no one's even mentioned on the annual review, because they were just like, well, that needs to go in. Actually, I personally do that stuff really well. You know, in terms of the budgeting, the life skills, the catching a train and a bus, we're really good at that stuff. It's the other bits where I need the support. So but that obviously needs to go in, and that's really easy for him to access because we've already been doing that.
Yeah. So those things that you're describing, raw, the animal-based stuff, that could all be accessed through an alternative provision arrangement.
Yeah.
And you could do that, you know this, but you could do that in negotiation with school. School could, you know, you could potentially get some leverage by pushing A2E, and or school, probably school. But either way, and school could potentially, you know, then sort out the funding gubbins.
Yeah. So that's what's kind of, that's
what
I think now, which isn't great, but it isn't terrible either. And
no,
I'm like,
I think if you didn't have a good relationship with school, it would be a different conversation.
Yeah, and so my big concern is when we move as well, if we're still where we are, that could.
Yeah, and also if you think about when you move, if you do manage to secure some of this alternative provision, it's all good evidence for what he can access and what does work. So that when you land in the new local authority and then they have an EP take a look, you'll have a lot of stuff to give to the EP that is like, this is what it's been accessing and this is what's been working and why.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, it's rubbish that we have to make a decision based on the fact that we know that we have no educational psychologists. The other option is that you do push for a reassessment and that you push for a commissioning of a private EP because they don't have the on staff. I've seen that happen, not in Surrey, but I have seen it happen, and it does have to go to upper levels of commissioning.
Yeah,
but it's a job, but it is an option. If you know what I mean.
But I do have, like, obviously Laura Kirby did do a PDA assessment and the educational psychologist was involved in that. So I was thinking we could potentially pull some of the stuff out of that into, if we needed to.
You can do that with the Senko into his existing plan, can't you?
Yeah. So I was like, it's not as dire as it sounds, but it's a lot of work for the Senko and I, in an area that's not really our.
I don't know where you're at with Amber in terms of whether it's accessible for you to use her again and whether she has capacity, but she's good at that stuff.
Okay. So she might be a good person to have at that meeting she's good at the
admin of populating plans from reports and stuff. That for me, for people.
Well, she's really close to me. She's only about 10 miles away. So she's not very far away at all. In fact, and she has other clients who have the provision that Jacob was offered. And she was like, it's not going to work for him. You know, because she was like, you know, actually these families it does work for. And the irony is that what they've offered Jacob would actually probably be accessible for Peter right now, but Peter doesn't have access to that because he's not at that point. And so I'm just like,
I mean, can't you just do it and like not let them know that the other kid is going? Because sometimes
I was really tempted to say that, because actually but then we also get to that thing is that if I'm taking Peter over to provision every day, then I'm not here where I need to be with Jacob. And so we've got this conflict of interest again. And they've offered me Surrey online schools for Peter. So I, as a short interim, because they were like, well, because he doesn't have his funding.
We don't do homeschool. School, home, different things. Homework, literally pointless. Just put it in with everything else.
I agree.
Yeah, and me.
Don't get why it exists.
No.
If they really need to, if they're doing bad, just hold them back from their breaks, make their breaks shorter and put the homework in there.
And I do have to say about the school, you
For
know,
example, make them memorise 50 million words.
yeah, we
per
do
class.
have friends in Jacob's year where the school have not handled it like they have our case
Yeah.
at all. So I, you know, and I did throw my teddies out at the TAF a few weeks ago because I was like, actually, you've put me in a really difficult position. You know, like they pushed Peter over the edge one day, and then I was like, you sent a really stressed, angry child home into an environment where you already know I have a child that doesn't cope well with that, and that also reacts in a similar way. And Jacob's reaction is always to protect me, and so that then causes, you know, so I did properly.
What's the point of learning?
Throw my teddies out and be like, it's not
when
okay.
you have to be
Yeah.
forced to go to school, and by then you're often already learning words.
It's like a little rant, isn't it, about school? But to be honest,
But my point is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
My
you're
point
right.
is
You're
correct.
spot on.
Why can't there just be when they're 3 years old, you get stuff given to you and you teach them from words and stuff for a year to make school easier.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that we're thinking we might be better just to Amber, the Senko, and I to fudge it.
I think so. If you have means to fund that for Amber to do that for you, and if she has capacity, and I know what she's like, she'll find capacity. She always does, bless her. I think that would be, all things considered, that's probably a better solution for you. And I'm glad that you have choices, because yeah, I'm just really glad you have choices.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not ideal choices, but you still have choices.
Yeah.
There's hope, you know.
There's hope. Yeah. Well, and I feel like we are closer to getting what we need than we were, you know, when I first spoke to you.
And you know what you need now. You've got an idea of what you need and how, and you can see how you could get it. Like, that's one of the challenges, I think. Sometimes families know what would work, but they just can't see a route to getting it. You have a route. It's not, you know, none of us are going to pretend that it's going to be easy, but there is a clear pathway for unlocking the vision for him. So, yeah, I think
Anyway, that's completely drained.
I am. I mean, your complaint.
Yeah,
what do I need to do with that?
Yeah, I think so. You're going to get a response by next Friday. I can see probably the way that's going to roll out is that they're going to be like, oh, we're really sorry, we're really busy, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to escalate to stage 2 and then let it roll through to LGO, I would imagine.
So what do I do? Do I just say, I'm not happy?
So
escalate to stage.
When they give me a shout when it comes back, I'll have a quick look. I don't mind doing that. Pop me an email and just say you know, when we spoke, you said you'd look at the complaint response when it comes.
Okay.
Remind me what I said I'll do, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, I imagine they'll do one of two things. They'll either say, oh yeah, we're really sorry, but we are sorting it for you now, aren't we? So this doesn't really matter anymore. Or they'll say, oh, we've done nothing wrong. And in both cases, you would say, well, I need it escalating to stage 2 because I want it looked at properly. Because what you want them to do is to offer a remedy. So not only is it that they will improve their communication and they will put the education in place, but that they'll do something like look at their policies, their procedures, make an offer for a remedy for the missed time in education. And then potentially you'll need to escalate that through to LGO. I don't know if you
stage 2 it.
So yeah, stage 1 is someone internal looks at it.
Yeah.
Stage 2, someone out with the team looks at it.
Okay.
I don't think that Surrey have a stage 3. Some councils have a stage 3, which is someone outside the council looking at it, but I don't think that.
What's stage 4?
There
the council themselves looks over.
There isn't. No, there isn't. So
it's
stage 1, stage 2, and then it goes to LGO. Which is like ombudsman who.
Stage 4.
Who basically, he's the one that does the wrist slapping.
Yeah, and basically will make recommendations.
He's the one who takes the bribes and gives them wrist slaps.
Potentially make an award for financial award for miseducation.
Okay. Do I need to ask for that?
So yeah,
this
basically,
stage or not?
If it was me,
Hang
I'd
on,
have a
Jake,
slap
no,
band and
'cause this is
literally
really,
slap them
but
on
Jake,
the
this
wrist.
is really important. So I just need to be able to.
Jake, maybe you can help Mum remember this bit, because this bit is quite a tricky bit to remember. So yeah, when you get your stage 2 response back, it will tell you that you can go to the ombudsman. You need to contact the ombudsman directly yourself and say, I've got a stage 2 response I'm not happy with. I need to escalate it. And then they will assign you someone to go through it with you. They'll give you a caseworker, an investigator.
Okay, so then at that stage, that's the stage. So I don't need to be saying now, I expect.
No, I mean, what you can do at stage 1, when they respond, whatever their response is, even if it's just a, yeah, we're really sorry, you can go back to them on stage 2 and say, I'm not happy with your response. And this is what I actually want you to do. I want you to put some training in place or evidence the changes you're going to make to improve communication. I want you to offer me a remedy for the time out of education. And I want you to give me a timeline for what you're going to do for securing his
Let
alternative.
me write that down. So I want them to improve communication. What else did you say? Remedy.
Offer a remedy, like a financial remedy. And there is a document. I'll put this through my transcribe and it'll give me some action points. It'll remind me to send you the document from the NGO that outlines suggested remedies. It breaks it down what the amount should be. So you can say, I want this amount, or I'm entitled to up to this amount for the amount of time that he's missed education when you've not met need. And then the third thing you can ask for is a timeline for when they're going to put the provision in place.
Sorry, my computer's flashing out.
That's all right.
But there we are. And
what I'll do after we speak is I'll put this through my transcription software, which I'm in love with. It's the best thing ever. And it will tell me what I said I would do.
Excellent.
And then I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but have you watched the Art of Complaining webinar?
Yeah, I have, but I think there was so much in it. And so initially when I first watched it, I was watching it and then writing down stuff to form my first complaint. So, which was really, really helpful. Because I went on to like Ipsy and stuff, but I don't know, it wasn't quite what I wanted in that format. Like
Ipsy are great, and I get a lot of my information Ipsy. Like basically when I'm writing stuff to present, I use the Ipsy stuff. But then I think if you're a person that learns like I learn, which is having someone explain it to you and then being given a thing to follow, Ipsy don't quite have that step. So
no, so
I speak of the fact that that's what I do.
So I kind of, so actually that is exactly me, I think. So I watched that and then I looked at the Ipsy stuff and was like, it's not quite what I want in that way. Bye, Jake. So so then I went back. So I think I need to watch that again. But I am halfway through the personal budgets one. And so again, that's another really complex area. And then and so I'm kind of working my way through your videos basically. Awesome. But there's so much stuff and I have so much else going on and so little time that I'm kind of like, I kind of am dipping in and out because my brain just gets to the point, like with the personal budget when I got to the point where I was just like, I actually just need a break. But I didn't, because I wanted to start watching it because I was worried that they were going to try and make me have a personal budget at this stage at the annual review without like kind of through the back door kind of and push some stuff onto me. And I was like, I'm not sure. And Amber was like, I'm not, Amber hasn't been paid for her provision. So she was like, you really don't want that route right now because sorry, you're really messing it up. Yeah. So she was like, we need to make sure that it's not another thing that goes onto your job
list of things to chase. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's so sorry, my dog's just, I've been landed with one dog, the other dog has gone out for a walk and he's just sat here like, oh, they've left me.
Yeah.
Baby. It's so useful to have Amber as someone who knows what's going on the ground in Surrey. She has a really good grasp of, but what I was going to say about the webinars was you've got Marble Run access, yes?
I've got Marble Run access.
Right, okay, cool. And then my intention is for all of the webinars, now that I've got this sexy new software, I'm going to put them all through and do like my intention is to do like a crib sheet for each one.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
because which tells people where in the webinar the bit about the thing is, they can skip through, because
Yeah, that would be really
cover quite a
helpful.
lot, and you kind of like even when I'm trying to rewatch it to see, if I say to a parent, go and have a look at this, sometimes I have to check that I do cover the thing that I've said it's in. So I think I need to do like anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you that, just to let you know that that's coming. But
yeah, no, I think that would be really good, to be honest, because then you can kind of,
at
yeah.
9:57 I cover this.
Yeah.
11
Yeah.
minutes, whatever.
Yeah. And none of us ever work in the order, because nobody at the LA works in that order. So you're kind of, I need this bit, and then you're like, oh, but hang on a minute, they actually missed all these steps out before we got to this, so I've got to kind of fill it back in. And none of them know what they're doing, so none of them give you correct information. Like I initially, when we first started all this, I just assumed that the professionals are the professionals and that they do their job, because that's their job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you've got them sitting in meetings saying, oh, well, it's not our responsibility. Like, honestly, this is like the basics of alternative provision. It is your responsibility. Why does no one tell you this? And then you're like, do you actually know? And you're just like, you've been told to lie about it? Or are you so incompetent as a department that no one has actually trained your staff in what is required?
Yeah, I think they're all trained like that, to just say, oh no, it's not my responsibility. Because I think ultimately they say to their staff, you want the schools to be doing as much as possible, so you want to say it's not your responsibility, because you don't want the responsibility,
because we don't have the resources, we don't have the capacity. That's their position. But yeah,
what's happening, please? I love Jacob, but when he's like this, he causes. This is what happens when you have two PDAs in the same house. Well, actually, there's three of us, because there's me. So I'm taking you with me to see what's going on. What's happening? Who is where? Oh, you're getting like a tour, Heidi, today.
You've got lots of lovely.
What's happening? He's just lying on your floor.
Can you please turn down my?
Where is it?
It's like constant blasting noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, can I just turn it off, Jay?
I'm being a rag doll.
What?
No.
You're being a rag doll. All right. Why don't you come and flop on this bed in here?
Being a rag doll mode, so you have to drag me.
I have to drag you. Are you actually kidding me?
Yeah, you have to drag.
By which ankle?
To be honest, I don't think I can drag it. He's as big as me. I actually he weighs as much as I do, and he's I actually think he might have just peaked over the top of my height. I am obviously incredibly short. Peter, enough.
No,
so we've got a child basically at burnout, and one that's coming out of burnout, and so that's tricky.
Oh, fun. Jake, do you want to see my dog?
Do you want to see the dog? Oh. Come see the dog. Come and see the dog, Jake. Hang on, Jake, come this way and see the dog.
I can't on my bed beside me.
Look at the dog, Jake, look at the dog.
Ignore all the washing on the side. Legs, turn around so we can see your face.
Our house normally looks like that, Heidi. It's just that because we keep having viewings. So this morning, my first thing was like, I actually have no idea where the computer is, because I tucked it out the way, and then I'm like, where I put it. Come and see the dog.
Oh, you've got one of those turtles.
I don't think. Right, here are them.
Legs, come here, mate. Come here.
My ass
Look,
hurts. Pull my pants up.
No, that's about as far as I can go.
No.
Right.
You're missing.
You want further dragging? Hang on. Look at this dog.
He's gonna kill my leg.
All right, Legs.
Hang on a
He's
minute.
gonna kill my leg. My ass is currently exposed
Right.
to the
Okay,
carpet.
you're fine there. Let's
My
go.
ass is currently exposed to the carpet.
That's fine. You'll cope.
Oh,
You're
it's so like our house. It's
like,
so
remember that
funny.
call I did? You'll be like, it was hilarious.
It's so funny.
Oh my
Yeah.
word. I'm like, oh yeah, it's much easier when he just sleeps the mornings away and Peter goes to school.
Yeah.
With
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
When you wish, it's so funny when you wish for burnout, because at least you had a chance to have a pee in peace. Like, oh, when he used to
Yeah.
just sleep all the time, it was a
Yeah.
bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not true, obviously. It was so funny. Like now, Theo is like, I would even go as far as to say that he's not just in recovery, he is recovered,
Oh, so that's
um,
good.
which is
I think
great.
he's gone back in already.
But I have to like take him places and give him money.
Yeah. Right, Jay, can you just leave
Okay,
Peter
you can say
alone?
that now.
Can you just leave him alone? Right, Peter, you.
Oh, think I might have lost you.